Hey guys, I'm Jeremy, and today I thought I'd talk about how life is at middle age. I'm 43 now, and compare that to how I was in like my 20s and kind of the pros and cons. So of course, when you're in your 20s, you know, it's the time of your life. You've got tons of energy, you're invincible, you've got a million ideas, you're optimistic about the future and excited about everything. But there's quite a few downsides too. So in this video, I'll go over a few topics. I'll talk about how too much energy could be a bad thing. Some things about chasing ladies, because that's such a huge priority at that age. I'll go into a bit about drugs and alcohol and mental health, and some investments that might help you out too in the long run. Because a lot of the decisions you make, like in your late teens, your 20s and 30s, can decide the rest of your life. Like, I'm single now and I've traveled the world and done cool things, but that would have been totally different if I was married with 3 kids. Or my life would even be different now if I made great investments like 20, 25 years ago. My financial situation would be much better. So I hope some of the advice I give you now can help you make good decisions for the future. So the first thing I'll mention is how too much energy can actually be a bad thing. Because a lot of that energy is wasted anyway. I mean, it's like if you gave a 17-year-old $1 million and you gave someone middle-aged $1 million. Now, of course, both could waste all of their money, but there's a much bigger chance that like a 17-year-old isn't going to spend that money as wisely as like someone who knows something about finances and is middle-aged. Like, if I had that money, I'd be investing it here and there. Like, I wouldn't just go out and blow it all. So that's kind of like in your 20s, you've got all of this energy and you've got all of these ideas, but like you don't know what direction to go into. And you don't know what direction to go in because you haven't had that many careers or traveled that much, and you haven't failed that much, you know, because it's not like you've had 2 or 3 careers by the time you're 21, or you've had like 3 businesses failed or a marriage fail. So you have no idea of really what you can succeed at because you haven't failed. You know, I mean, a lot of you might be in college right now and you might think that you want to get this finance degree and get into finance or engineering or art. And then you do that field for 5 years and you're like, I totally don't want to do that. And so you might not even figure that out until you're 30. Or you might think that, I don't know, living in Denver, Colorado or California is the best place in the world. And you end up visiting Korea or Italy and you end up saying, hey, I'd rather live here. And then you end up changing careers and live somewhere else. Or you might have other, you know, crazy ideas like I had 20 years ago. Like, you know, when I got out of the Army, I hiked the Appalachian Trail. I biked around the world. I went commercial fishing in Alaska. And I don't regret any of those things, but I might have done some things differently because, you know, on my bike trip around the world, I got ran over by an SUV. I ended up in a hospital for a month. I went up to Alaska thinking to make a bunch of money, and then, you know, those first 2 seasons I made practically nothing. And so a lot of those things might not be worth it. Same thing with the Army. Who would have ever thought September 11th would have happened my last year in? You might join the Army and who knows, maybe the first month we end up going to war with China or Russia. So you have no idea what might happen. And so at that age, a lot of the things you're thinking about are pretty unrealistic and idealistic, and you really won't know until later, you know, what ideas or what careers or what paths in life are right for you. And that's also because although you might think you know everything when you're 16 or 18 or 22 or 25 or 30, life is a constantly evolving process of learning about not just the world, but about who you are. And so that's going to be like even now I'm 43 and it's kind of like, well, I'm settled in Denver now. I've been here for over a year. The last 15 years I was in Asia. And I'd like to pursue a career here doing tours and stuff, but the government went against me. And so like they're saying I can't go to like touristy places. And so now I'm kind of considering going back to like maybe Asia and teach for a bit until I figure something else out. So you never know about how you'll change and how a lot of these surprises do come up in life. Because to be honest, I mean, out of all the things you try, like, of course, we all want to be on the best baseball or football team or the best rock band or have the best business or make a ton of money or be the happiest you can be. There's really only a small percentage of people that are really going to be at the top of everything. And then most of us are going to be like somewhere in the middle. And then a lot of people are actually going to be well below that. So realistically, a lot of things that you might pursue in life might not work out. You know, whether that's your marriage, whether that's your business, whether that's your career, or whatever. Like, it just doesn't work out like a fairy tale. So now if I look at my energy levels now at middle age, I do have less energy, but I'm much more focused. So now I'm just focused mainly on my career or what I want to do next. I'm not like running around trying to chase this girl and do this and go to this bar and hang out with this person and travel here. I've already done the traveling around the world and stuff. I've already done school. So now I could just focus on 2 or 3 things. If women come or go, great, but it's not a priority. Which is the second thing I'm going to get into. The pursuit of women. So this is a huge deal for guys because basically from when you're a teenager through your whole 20s, you're at your sexual peak. You're just full of testosterone. There's not a lot of things on guys' minds besides pussy, like 24/7. So it might not be number 1 on the list. Like, you've got to pursue your career and job and friends and hobbies, but it's definitely in the top 3, if not the first thing. And in some ways that's fine. Like, I mean, you know, if you casually date and you meet some nice people, that's fine. But in a lot of other cases, what happens is that you're either in the other 2 categories where, like, you're not getting any girls, and that sucks because that's depressing. It hurts your ego, and it's really frustrating. But the other side of that is the guys who are really good at picking up girls and players, really good looking and everything, will get the lion's share. And the bad thing about that is that they end up kind of getting addicted to it. Like, they want to see if they could get the next girl, and it's like, did it matter if you had sex with 30 women this year or 3,000, right? And so that becomes an obsession in either way often. So I would just, focus on that a bit. If you're doing well, fine, but also make sure you're focusing on your career and other things. And plus, the sad reality is that with online dating and stuff like that, like, obviously, like, women could get the cream of the crop, right? They're going to pick that 20% of the top guys, and a lot of the guys are going to be left out of this. And the statistics show this. I think, like, it could be 50% to 2/3 of guys, I mean, are definitely not going to get much action at all, if any. So if that's the case, you're going to have to find some other interesting and fascinating things to do and not become an incel like Elliot Rodgers. You need to find something more productive with your time than letting that eat you up, because there's not much you could do. And to be quite honest, one of the reasons why a lot of guys have a big problem with women is because they either seem needy or they're desperate, and the women could really tell if you're desperate for sex or if you're lonely or depressed or anything like that. So if you don't care, that's very attractive to them anyway. So that's just something to keep in mind. I'll make other videos on all these subjects and go into more depths, but that at least gives you the basic idea. So I'm much happier now not having to focus on that so much like when I was a teenager in my 20s. So at my age now, it's definitely nothing I'm that concerned with. Like, if I could go on a hot date right now instead of making a YouTube video, I probably would do that. But it's definitely not number 1 on the list, not even top 3. It's definitely much lower down. I'm just concerned with what I want to do with my future. For most of us, drinking and partying are going to be a huge part of our life. I started drinking, when I was 15 and drank pretty heavily, even till now I could say, but almost every day for, probably almost 20 years. Smoke pot every day after I got out of the Army for about 5-10 years, and occasionally do some edibles or something. But that takes up a lot of energy too, because you have so much energy and you're chasing girls and stuff, you're going out to bars all the time. And so, yeah, 7 days a week, I mean, that's eating up a lot of energy. I could be doing more productive things. Obviously a lot of those days I was hungover, which isn't quite as bad as it is now. But that's just a lot of energy wasted and a lot of money too. I mean, that's got to be at least $1,000 a month you're blowing in bars and beers and pot or whatever else you might do. And so I think that could be really detrimental in a lot of ways. Like, I would recommend, keeping that to like your weekends, and then during your weekdays, try to be pretty productive. Like a Wednesday going out or something's cool, but 7 days a week is a little much. And I won't go really into much of the other drugs, but as you know, I mean, there's so many drugs now that are like tainted with fentanyl and stuff. I wouldn't really even get into anything else besides like drinking and pot, maybe mushrooms or something like that. I'll make more videos about the subject too. And so also at this time, you know, because of girls, because of drinking, because of your testosterone, because of your energy levels, you're gonna have a lot bigger ups and downs, you know, most likely. Like some days I'm excited, so happy, and I'm having the time of your life. And there was some days I was depressed, like, you know, this girl blew me off, and I'm super upset about it. Where now, like, something like that happens, I'm like, whatever. That's like number 150,000, so I don't care. And so, like, you care more about things, and you're more emotional. And because of all this extra energy and testosterone, like, if you look at crime statistics, almost all of the crimes are young guys and their teenagers up to about 34 are going to be the peak for crimes. And about 25% of those crimes were under the influence of alcohol or drugs. So you got to be careful at this age. I mean, I did a lot of crazy shit then that I wouldn't do now. And thank God I'm alive still and not in jail. But you're going to be doing a lot of risky things because of that crazy amount of testosterone and stuff. And so, you know, try to be smart about things and don't make a mistake that could land you in prison or, you know, getting a girl pregnant or something like that, because that could really ruin your life too. So that's another reason why you want to keep that drinking and stuff down to a minimum, because that is a depressant. It will make you also anxious when you're not drinking. And so there's a lot of negative things there. If you are really having some issues, obviously go and talk to someone. But it's just part of life. You're going to have some pretty big ups and downs. Nowadays, I don't have any expectations. I don't really get upset over, like, someone cut me off in my car. When I was, like, in my 20s, it's like, yeah, fuck you, man, and pissed off. I occasionally see that now. A guy got out of his car and almost got in a fight, and I thought they might even pull a gun or something. It's like, who cares? Someone, you know, there's a red light, or someone cut in front of you, or, yeah, this girl didn't respond. I mean, it's like, big deal. Like, you also didn't respond to girls, or you've also cut people off. So it's like, you just don't care about stuff as more, which is a great place to be. So I think that's another great thing about middle age, is that things seem much more stable than when you're like in your 20s. So overall, what do I think? I definitely think middle age is better, in maybe not always, but many ways it's better. The only other downsides is, like, of course, physically, I don't have the energy to, like, go hike the Appalachian Trail or hike as fast or bike as far as I could have 20 years ago. But the good thing is that, like, I hiked the Appalachian Trail and biked around the world 20 years ago, so I don't even need to do that now. So if I go for like 1 or 2 days hiking and camping, that's enough. And also when you're older, you slow down a bit, where you can look back and analyze a lot of the things that happened a little better. You know, when you're in your 20s, it's go, 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 do this, do that, you know, talk to this person, you're going a million miles an hour. And now it's like I could sit and kind of think, okay, where did I go wrong here? And so it doesn't matter that I don't have the exact energy as I had 20 years ago. I mean, sure, it would be helpful if I could go a little faster, but it's really not that big of a deal. And so one of the other minuses is that at middle age, you're not going to be able to meet as many friends as easily as like when you were in your 20s, because most people have families and stuff, or most guys my age honestly aren't looking for other guy friends, they're looking for girlfriends, which is fair enough. And so it's definitely not the same. I've made a big effort here, so I've met some cool people, and my sister lives here, and so it's pretty good in general. But yeah, it's not as, like, obviously in college or certain points of your life, it's just much easier to meet people, which is also why I consider living overseas, because that was fun. It didn't really matter what age you were, you just hang out with whoever. And so that's a small minus, but not really a big deal. I could spend a lot more time alone anyway than I used to when I was in my 20s anyway, so it's all good. As far as investments go, if I could have did it again, I would have definitely had like some small property or some small rental or something that I got like some point in my 20s. Like, for instance, I didn't make a ton when I was in the Army, but I could have invested some of that money or all of that money when I was partying in my 20s. I mean, that was so much money that I blew in bars. And if I would have had a small rental 20 years ago, I could probably rent that out for $1,000 or $2,000 a month. And I could be traveling right now with that money, let's say. So I definitely think you should consider investing some of that money into something in your 20s, because you definitely want some investment like real estate that can grow, generally speaking. It's not perfect, but it's better than nothing. So anyway, I hope this video was helpful for you. If you enjoyed it, like it and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. My channel is basically all my adventures around the world and experience I've had and a bunch of advice like this. I'll make a few more videos on these topics like dating and different things. And I also have a couple cool trips coming up. I'm going to go to Mexico for 10 days in November and then a month in Peru over winter. So I should have some pretty cool content about those areas. So anyway, good luck guys, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.